It's a Friday night in New York City, the weather is finally nicer, and you're looking for something to do tonight. Maybe you've already got a date lined up and you're trying to figure out what to do, or maybe you want to dedicate this weekend to yourself. Either way, why don't you come with me to date night at the Met? At this awesome weekly event, you can go into the museum after hours, listen to some live music, and... Sorry, does that say 2-for-1 drink specials? Hi, my name is Brandon, and this is my channel Broadway to York. I make content on the best restaurants and experiences all across New York City as well as across the world. So for more content like this, please like, subscribe, and follow me on social media. So let's dive in and let's talk about date night at the Met. So, short for the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the Met is one of the most famous art museums in the entire world. Nestled right on the Upper East Side beside Central Park, it's pretty easy to get to by pretty much any train in Manhattan. Now, in terms of the actual art you can see in the Met, it has a rotating selection of really different paintings and exhibits. However, the more famous ones are pretty consistent, such as one of Van Gogh's self-portraits, as well as Washington Crossing the Delaware, one of the most famous paintings in American history. Now, the museum officially closes at 5 p.m., but on Fridays and Saturdays, there's a little bit of a different setup. Starting at 5 p.m., the museum reopens for date night at the Met, which is an event that's free with your museum admission. And as a reminder, if you're a New Yorker, you actually pay a donation of any price that you wish, and that is your admission fee. Otherwise, the event itself, you don't have to pay anything extra. Now, probably the most popular spot in the museum at this point is the upstairs cafe in the lobby, where they have a few musicians on a rotating basis playing music. Of course, while we're here, we took part in the 2-for-1 drink special and got some snacks before we explored the rest of the museum. Now, we actually spent a good amount of time in the upstairs area, because not only do we have access to the musicians and the cafe, we're also surrounded by some really beautiful pottery-based artwork as well. And on top of that, the musicians were absolutely stunning. Now, the vibes up here were excellent, and I think that if your number one goal is sitting here watching the musicians, I recommend you get here pretty soon after opening because it was packed once the musicians actually started. Now, on the other end, if you really want to see the art, remember that date night at the Met actually runs from 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock. So we ended up hanging out here a little bit longer than we anticipated. So by the time we got settled in, watched the music, got some drinks, we were kind of running out of time to explore the rest of the museum. So it's something to think about. The alternative, of course, is to show up to the museum first before date night at the Met, look at all the artwork, and then cap your night off here. But, you know, being that it is a work day, it is something to think about. But this also runs on Saturdays too, so you have some options. After enjoying the musicians a little bit more, it was time to use the time that we had left to explore the rest of the museum. Now, something that I really love about the Met is that you'll find a bunch of different people who are kind of experiencing the art in different ways. You'll find people like myself and my wife who are kind of seeing a lot of this artwork for the first time and trying to interpret it or even looking up where it originated or what it means. You'll find artists and art students who are using a lot of the artwork as inspiration, or even sketching out copies of what they're seeing in front of them to practice their art. Sometimes you'll even find someone who just sits in front of the art, puts on their headphones, listens to music, and really takes it all in, which I think is what the museum's all about. But if you're not an expert on art, the museum does a pretty good job of having plaques and everything that kind of describe what you're looking at, as well as some of its origins. Now, this part coming up is probably one of my favorite parts of the entire museum, so I actually wanted to take my camera and get a few good shots as we entered it. Sometimes it could be a little bit difficult to immerse yourself in the art if it's just a regular painting or a sculpture, but I do love a good exhibit that kind of puts you in the setting as if you were one of the people living there. So any kind of building or exhibit where you can go inside and actually see the architecture is pretty much the ideal for me. Now, I will say, with the time that we spent upstairs in the cafe and then eventually the time we spent in the museum, we actually pretty much ran out of time and didn't explore a good 80% of the museum. So it's something to note that if you really want to immerse yourself in the artwork, you may need multiple days to do this. Maybe you can come to both the Friday and Saturday event. But all in all, whether you're on an actual date and you want a good date night, or if you want to take yourself out and focus on you, date night at the Met is an excellent time and a great way to immerse yourself in some art and culture. Thank you for watching. If you like this video and you want to see more content in New York City and around the world, please feel free to like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.